Welcome to Affluence and Advocacy, NY Real Estate Law.
Welcome to another episode of Affluence and Advocacy, New York Real Estate Law with Natalia Sishodia. Today, we're diving into the intriguing world of land lease buildings and what you need to know before buying an apartment in one. Natalia, it's great to have you back.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Can you start by explaining what exactly a land lease building is?
So to make it simple, a land lease building is where the land on which the building sits is leased by the building's cooperative or condo association from a third-party owner. The building itself doesn't own the land. It's more like long-term renting, usually for 50 to 99 years.
Okay, so that sounds like kind of a unique situation. What are the key sort of pros and cons buyers should be thinking about?
Absolutely. There are definitely pros and cons, and it depends on your financial and long-term goals. So first, let's talk about pro. In many cases, apartments in land lease buildings tend to be more affordable. Since you are not owning the land, the initial purchase price might be lower compared to non-land lease properties. So this scenario could be really good for first-time home buyers who don't have large amounts to put down. On the con side, though, buyers need to be aware that because the land is leased, there is an added monthly cost, like rent, on top of usual maintenance fees. This cost can fluctuate as lease renewals happen, and in some cases, the fee increases significantly.
Okay, so what is the standard term of reset for ground rent in a land lease situation?
While I see many variations reviewing this type of leases, typical rent resets is 20-25 years, and the rent is increased to an amount equal to a percentage. Typically it is 5 to 6% of then fair market value of the land.
Okay, I'm sure this can be a surprise for some buyers. Have you had clients who are interested in buying in a land lease building but were concerned about these fees?
That's a very good question, Kevin. I can actually remember one particular case. It comes to my mind where I had a client, let's call him John for privacy reasons. He was excited to buy an apartment in a land lease co-op at 100 West 57th Street, prestigiously located on Billionaires Row. The price was right, but he wasn't aware of the land lease fees and the soon-to-come expiration of the land lease term, actually on March 15, 2025, which is next year, causing the monthly maintenance fees to jump substantially. So this came as a shocker to the client. The current, look just at this, the current annual rent that the co-op is paying on the ground lease is $4 million. And the board proposed a 20% increase, raising that rent to $5 million. The landowner, however, suggested raising that rent to $25 million. The future for the shareholders is either a new ground lease, like really expensive ground lease, or becoming rent stabilized tenant.
Wow, that's a lot of money. That sounds like a critical point to consider. How did you help John navigate that situation?
The way we navigated, we sat down and carefully reviewed the lease agreement and all the findings I was able to put together during the due diligence. One key aspect to look is at who the land lease owner is, how long the current lease runs, and whether there are any renewal terms. We worked with the building's manager to understand the fee structure post-renewal. This is one of those land lease buildings with an unclear future, but attractively low purchase price in a prime Manhattan location by Central Park. Ultimately, John decided the long-term risk wasn't worth for his goals, so he chose a non-land lease building instead.
Well, that's an example of how professional guidance is vital and can save buyers from potential pitfalls. Are there any other pros to buying in a land lease building?
Yes, of course. And another advantage can be the prime locations. Many land lease buildings are located in a highly desirable areas like Battery Park City, Sutton Place, Lincoln Square, or near Central Park. You're often getting a premium location at a lower upfront cost. I had another client, for example, let's call him Tom, who was able to afford a much larger apartment in a Battery Park City than he would have in a traditional building.
Oh, that's interesting. So when it comes to resale value, do apartments in land lease buildings hold their value as well as traditional apartments?
That's the tricky part. Resale can be more complicated. Typically, as the land lease gets closer to its expiration date, the value of the apartment may drop because buyers know that either the building will have to renegotiate the lease terms or face significant fee hikes. Tom was aware of this when he bought this apartment. He factored that into his long-term exit strategy.
So then, if I'm understanding this right, would you say that maybe land lease buildings are more suitable for short-term buyers?
Not necessarily. If the lease is long enough and the terms are favorable, it could still be a good long-term investment. And we were talking about resets, right, every 20, 25 years. So like if you are looking for place for next 10, 20 years, that could be a good option as well. But you need to go in it with your eyes wide open and understand the complexities. For example, some buildings have agreements where the land lease can be extended, or there is a possibility that building could buy the land from the landlord in the future.
Yeah, eyes wide open, and definitely sounds like something that requires some advice from an expert. So for potential buyers, what should be the first step if they're considering a land lease building?
So I would say the first step is always to consult an experienced real estate attorney who can thoroughly review the land lease agreement. You'll want to understand the length of the lease, any potential for renewal, the current land rent, and projections for the increases. Working with your financial advisor is also critical to ensure it fits within your long-term financial plans. When there are fewer than 30 years left until the expiration of the land lease, it will be difficult for the buyer to secure financing. So it's more likely to be an all cash deal. So those buildings with less than 30 years left, they may not be suitable for the purchasers who don't have cash and looking to finance their purchase.
That's really good advice. Do you have any final words of wisdom for buyers considering a land lease apartment?
I would say that it's all about balance. Every situation is unique, every client is unique. So you cannot say like, buy or not to buy in a land lease building. So if the apartment fits your budget, lifestyle, and goals, a land lease building can be a great opportunity, especially in neighborhoods like Battery Park City, Long Island City, or the Upper East Side. Just make sure that you're aware of the long-term financial commitments and the resale implications. As with any real estate purchase for that matter, preparation and having the right team by your side is a key.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic insights, Natalia. Thank you for breaking down the pros and cons of land lease buildings for our listeners. So that wraps up today's episode of Affluence and Advocacy. If you're considering buying in a land lease building or have any other real estate questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Natalia and her team. All right. Well, see you next time. Natalia, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me, and looking forward to the next episodes.